All right, hello. So we'll be using this component library today to build out a homepage mockup and demo our new component library system. The goal of this component system was to document all the existing components as they are in Contentful. So you'll see some odd behaviors, but we're trying to capture things as they are. So what I'm going to show you is how we would recreate this homepage, the Dogs of Paris homepage, using reusable components and consistent spacing. So we can just get started right away. Just a note, I've hidden the left pane just for some visual clarity, but I'll show it occasionally just for naming things. But we can tap F to bring up the frame menu on the right, and we like to use the 1440 size, the desktop size, so I'm going to pull this up to be level with the homepage. We can name this homepage with components, and now we can hit Shift I. This is my favorite way to pull up the library of components because you can just start searching here. So at the top of this page I see a shop announcement bar, so I just typed in shop, and you can see I can use the arrow keys to select items from here. I'm going to add that shop announcement bar. I'm going to hit Option W to put that to the top, Option A to move it to the left, and now we know it's top and left aligned. And now I'm going to add a nav bar. Oh, sorry, I hit the outlines. Now I'm going to hit Shift I again and add in a nav. Sorry, we got some construction going on here. I'm just going to drag that right below. And just for organizational purposes, I'm going to hit Shift A and add an auto layout. You could also add the auto layout by clicking this button over here. I'm going to make sure that's center aligned, and we don't want any gap between those two things. Hit Command R to rename, and let's call this top nav area. And now let's add another thing, our first page block, which will be the, this looks like a carousel, so let's start typing in carousel. You can see we have a hero, we have a product carousel, and then we have these two internal components. You can tell they're internal components because they have an underscore at the front of their name. So you don't have to, and you shouldn't really put these directly on a page layout. They're really to build other components in the system. So we're going to use a hero carousel. Let's drop that into our frame. We can center it by hitting Option H, which will horizontally center it, and bring it directly underneath that nav. I can get a little bit closer, so you can see clearly. Now we've got things cooking. Let's hit Shift I again and add our first text callout here. So I'm just going to start typing callout to show you that you don't need to be very precise. These names are written in such a way that you can kind of be loose, and as long as you know it's a callout, which is what it's called in Contentful, you're going to find the stuff that you need from the component library. We have a text callout available to us, a correlate callout row container, a general callout, and two column callout, and then a section header, which is technically a form of callout. So let's use the text callout, and you can see that this wasn't really placed anywhere we want it. So let's just put this directly underneath and start using that auto layout so we get things positioned nicely. So you can see by default it's centered that, and we're going down. Right now there's no gap between these items, but let's put a little bit of a gap. We'll probably be able to adjust this at the end, just so I can show you the power of using this auto layout for page layouts. Now that we have this frame selected, we can hit Command R to rename it, and let's call it page blocks. And let's hit Shift I to add our next item. So the callout row container is right here. We know this is a callout row container because we see two or three general callouts put here. So let's fix an issue that I'm seeing with this layout. First of all, we can actually just make our entire page an auto layout, and that way we'll get resizing automatically. So let's do that. Let's add that auto layout. We could have used Shift A to do that as well. You can see there's no gap between these items. This will control the gap between the nav and the page content now, which is really helpful for that to be separate from the gap between the page elements themselves. So now you can see that we can see the whole callout row container, and it looks like we're not using that heading that is available. It's really only available for simple callouts, styled simple, and whenever it's set to the two column arrangement, then you have this heading available to you that isn't available on other kinds of callout row containers. So that's one of the quirky behaviors that we documented. So now we have this matching pretty well. It looks like these are square and these are rectangles though. So let's look over here in the right pane. You can see the fields that we have available to us. So we have square, rectangle, and then for mobile, or for some of these settings, either works. So this isn't technically a field in Contentful, but everything else is. So let's do rectangle. Let's do two callouts, and let's make that. Oh, that's interesting. We got square. It looks like we do need to adjust the height of these. So let's do that right here. As you can see, this is set to fill the container it's in, and this card itself is fixed. So what we can do is actually hit enter to select both of the children here. Let's make them fill container, so that we can just resize this entire row and get to, oh, actually, sorry. Let's set that to, can I resize this? Why can't I resize this? I would like this to be fixed, but it looks like I can't resize it. Oh, okay, cool. Now I can. Oh, it's the inner container. This will be helpful. So let's hit Command Shift and then the pipe character to show this panel on the left. You can see we have a frame that's wrapping everything. This is the item that I'd like to be fill container, and then the outermost item, this callout row container, will be fixed. And now you can see we can actually resize this, and the items should also be set to fill container, so now they'll scale up, and this will allow us to match this height. So 708 by 592. Let's get these things matching that height. So right now they're 731, so we got to go down by 40, 39, 139. Apologies, that noise is crazy loud. So let's get out here and make this scaled down. We can kind of eyeball it first of all, and then we'll get it exactly right. And you can notice that those images are scaling down nicely now. So those are 615. It looks like I need to make them a little bit shorter by about 13 pixels. So we can actually use this height field and subtract 13 from it. And now these should be exactly 592. Oh, mistake. I need 9 more. I did my math wrong. Minus 9. 593. That's close enough for us. Let's take this, and I'm just clicking in all the way to this image. One of the problems with the old way of doing things was all of these masks that are required for these images to work properly. So we can nicely just have one image, which is great, in these new components. And let's steal this text. you can see if we select these components individually, since these are callouts with component fields, we can actually just edit this title right here and show that. There's no eyebrow on this, so we don't need that. Oh, this is actually a point that I need to make. I need to make it available to hide the eyebrows. So there will be a toggle here that will let you hide that eyebrow because it's not used on all callouts. So let's steal this and add it here. Cool. I'm actually going to go make that change real quick just so you can see how it works. These callouts are controlled here, and you can make toggles available by, if I select, this is the eyebrow field, and as is this, and I think those are the only places that the eyebrow is actually used in this system. Let's get these ones too. And what we can do is this visibility layer, you see this little icon with the square, you can create a property for this. So this is going to be show eyebrow. And now this is a property available to users of this component, which is us in this case. So let's go back here, and now that wasn't anything that you'll have to do when making home pages, but now we have this toggle available to us, and that'll resize accordingly. So actually we'll need to scale this down just a little bit. 618, so we need to scale it down by 26. Scale down this entire row. So let's subtract 26 here. And now we've got our shop callouts looking nice. And the important thing to note is that we're working entirely within the system that we've created. So this will be trivial to implement in Contentful. This make everyday a getaway is our next item, and it looks like a section header to me. So let's hit Shift I and add a section header. It didn't add it to this page blocks list here, but I wanted it to. Yeah, let's put it right there, just so I know it's in that same group. You can see one of the cool things about this container is the lines will resize. So if I added some words, the lines just nicely resize, which is great. That's actually how it behaves in the browser too. And we have this toggle. So if we select you can edit that text right from here, and you can hide that line with a toggle, which is how it works in Contentful. There's a field for that. Next, we have another callout row container. So let's hit Shift I. We'll say row container. Great. Looks like we have 3 items, so 2 callouts is now 3. We want those to be square, and this is on a desktop device. We got lucky here. This is actually identical to the one that they have in the system, so that is perfectly okay. Next, let's add this is a 2-column callout. So let's hit Shift I again, 2-column. And we're going to get lucky again because this content is the test content that we use for the original component, but we'll see what it looks like to edit the 2-column callout here shortly. All right, let's keep moving. We got this looks like a section banner, which is very similar to the carousel, but is subtly different. So let's do section banner. And you can see we actually can make some edits here. This is using the center top alignment. So let's go from left to center. You can see all the stuff now is center aligned, just like in this. And let's edit it looks like there's no there's no bestsellers text, this subtext, which you can add to this component yourself, but we can actually just hit delete and that's going to hide that text from us. Looks like the button text also needs updated, so let's say shop best sellers now, best sellers, and notice that the text is all capitalized here. That is set on the text because it matches how we've implemented this component. No matter what kind of text you put in that button text in Contentful, it's always going to be capitalized on the front end. Next, let's add in another one of these 3 call out row containers. So we can just move that down, hit the arrow keys to move it down. I hit Command D to duplicate and then arrow keys to get it to the bottom. And let's start stealing images. So I'm selecting the fill because what I actually want to steal is the fill. All images are just fills in Figma, and we can delete the old ones that are behind it and get in here. You can see there's a bunch of images in this, so that is why this design takes so long to load in Figma, is because there's actually several assets being stacked on top of each other, and Figma is trying to do a lot of work to calculate what should be visible, what shouldn't be. So we're really helping our load times by building components that only have one image with no masks and no complicated layering logic in them. So let's start comparing the text. Soothing escapes. I'm gonna steal that. Hitting enter it'll select all the text within, and now we can select this component and say soothing escapes, calming prints for every space. All right, let's put that in the eyebrow. Great. I'm actually just going to type this one because it's nice and short. Hello fall. You can see it doesn't matter whether I did all caps or normal text, because that's handled by the component, whereas the eyebrow does accept whatever you put in there. Seasonal favorites in our fall shop. Okay. Next, travel guides and explore Gray's top travel destinations, and we're all set on that one. Next, that's looking like a product carousel to me, so let's hit Shift I and do product, and we'll see the product carousel has appeared. And we can actually mimic this behavior. This is the default, and if I were to put this into prototype mode and view this design, we actually get hover interactions on these buttons, which is a great little add. But we can show this in the mid-hover state by going in, selecting this, and then going into the button and changing that to hovered. I'll rename this to say hovered, and that's true or false. So now we can show what the hover state would look like. Next, let's hit Shift I and add another 2-column callout. And let's start editing this. One of the cool things about the 2-column callout, this is available in Contentful, is that you can control whether the image appears on the left and the right. So we've moved that over by switching it. We can hide the icon because this one doesn't use an icon, and you can see that the spacing updates accordingly. That's because we're using auto layout, which is exactly similar to what is actually happening on the front end of the website with CSS Flexbox. Let's edit this text. When I'm grabbing big pieces of text, sometimes if I'm feeling fast enough, I can go over here and switch to the inspect panel, and I can click and I'll just copy that text right away. But I don't like switching back and forth very much between those panes, so I don't do it very often. I just put that into the body field. Dogs of Paris, we're going to update to brand, and we're going to say meet the, and you can see that's all caps by default. Last thing to do is take this image of Gray, which we put here, copy that fill and paste it in over the dogs of Paris. You can see that got kind of squished, right? Let's change this fit of this image to fill. That's a nice, happy way of cropping things if they're bleeding over. And then you have control to make an exact crop. But just be sure to export these crops in a high high resolution format. I don't generally advise leaving Figma as the source of truth for like high quality assets because there's a maximum size that you can do. So last thing on the page, we're gonna do the curate, and that's very easy. There's nothing editable in Contentful, so there's nothing. We didn't add any toggles here because we only want what's in this right pane to be what's editable in Contentful. All right, great. So let's get out of the page blocks, get into the whole homepage space, and let's add our footer. It's our final piece to this puzzle. And just like that, we've got a full page layout using components. And you can see that our page is a bit short. So let's see if we can fix that by adjusting the spacing, this value. I like the way that 50 pixels looks. It's pretty similar to what's actually occurring in this layout, and it's super consistent. So now we've got a layout. And if we wanted to, we could try it out. I don't have the mobile nav as variants here, but everything else we can make into a mobile version, I believe. So let's turn this into mobile. Turn this into mobile. Turn this into mobile. Turn these into mobile. Turn these into mobile. Turn these into mobile. It's really fun to watch the whole page kind of transform. And I don't have the Curate mobile created just yet, so everything else on this page layout will unfortunately be a little oddly sized, but we can just get rid of everything that wouldn't fit here. So let's get rid of that, and get rid of that. So now we have a bunch of elements. Let's hug those contents. Why are we hugging? What are we hugging? I missed one. Let's make this fill container. Great. So now we kind of get a good sense of how this should lay out on a mobile device. Little bit of tweaking that needs done on this so that instead of fixed, it hugs its contents. But now we're looking right. Cool. So just like that, we were able to make a desktop layout using the existing components, ensuring that because we stuck to the system, we won't incur any extra dev costs. We can just do this. We can assign a content person to build this page out in Contentful. And we were able to switch out all the page components to their mobile versions and get the mobile design essentially for free. There's a lot more to learn from this component. You can series. You can always check by clicking this little go to main component button if you want to learn more and read through the documentation. Each component in the system has instructions on how to use it in Contentful and when it's best to use it. Thanks.